Okay, so question 4 of our 2021 June paper, paper 1, variant 3. Here we go. So we've moved on from functions now, and we are looking at some trigonometry and solving these trig expressions. So what you need to know to begin with is that whenever you see a tan x, you usually need to convert it to sine over cos. So whenever you see tan x, convert it to sine over cos. The other thing you need to look at is common denominator. Okay, so when you see a very complicated question, put it as a common denominator. And then what you may find after putting a common denominator in is that you are able to denominator. Is you may find that things start to cancel and then it gets simpler, or you find a common factor that you can take out. All right, so let's do that first thing. So whenever I see tans, I want to change them to causes. So what I want to do is I want to make this light blue one, and I'm going to highlight, look like this one in pink. Okay. So sine x over cos x. Okay, I want you to do this with me. Don't just sit and watch the video. Okay. And then try and go ahead. Try and beat me because I'm going to do it slowly. Mostly because this pen doesn't work very fast. So I've turned the sine x over cos x. Okay, so hopefully you've already written it down and turned the other one into sine over cos, and you're starting to do the next step, which is get a common factor. I'm not a common factor, a common denominator. That is going to make it a little bit easier. So these questions, often you can't see the answer, like you can't see all the steps. But what you do is you must follow the kind of rules that are set out for you. So the one is to turn tans into sines and coses. The other is to get a common denominator. And so even though you may not be able to see how this complicated thing in blue is going to become this complicated thing in pink, it's going to work if you follow the rules, hopefully. And now I say, well, let's get them both over cos x. So we'll get this top over cos x, right? So we'll get it, but this whole thing at the top, that's sine x over cos x plus sine x over cos x. Well, sine x over cos x is sine x over cos x, but then the sine x does not have a cos x, so you'd need to times it by cos x. Okay, if you're not sure how to get a common denominator, then you need to go back to your GCSE stuff, because notice that I am only taking this top and writing in a different way. So the sine x cos x, say that I wrote that like a sine x cos x. Oh my gosh, this is so slow. Notice that if I cancel the cos x's, I'd get back to the sine x. So I'm simply writing the sine x as sine x cos x over cos x. And that's so I have a common denominator. I'm going to do the same to the bottom. Sine x minus sine x cos x, right? And you should be ahead of me because I'm writing very slowly. Unless you don't know what's going on. Yeah.
I've got to get a mold.
Cool.
Because I'm getting a bleaching kit.
Okay, cool. As long as you have it tomorrow for the maths.
Pardon?
We do the maths tomorrow.
Yeah.
Okay. And so you should have noticed the sine x, the cos x is cancelled because we happen to get them over the same denominator. So that makes it a bit easier because then we're just left with this. Okay, so notice the cos x's go away, leaving us with sine x cos x, sine x plus sine x cos x over sine x minus sine x cos x. Okay, so now we have, notice that we have a sine x in both. So we take sine x as a common factor. So a common denominator, now a common factor. What am I doing? I'm taking a sine x out of both. And notice it's starting to look like that pink thing. Okay, because the sine x can now cancel because you've taken them out, and we're left with the pink. Equals k. So we've done it. Now they want us to express cos x in terms of k. So I'm going to end the video now and subscribe so that you get a notification, because I will do question B next, and I'm going to put it all onto playlists and stuff. So, and I'll do plenty more AS past papers. So make sure you subscribe,